Happy Friday! Woohoo! It's end of the week. Welcome to Voices from the Edge. Who do we have on our roundtable today? We have August. We have Mo. We have Keisha, Roseanne, Andrea, and Katie. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the table.
Woo-hoo. Hello.
Yeah. There's nothing really going on this week. You know, we really didn't have anything to talk about. So
you're a liar.
I am a liar. We have too much to talk about all the time. So we try to narrow it down to some of the 2 or 3 or 4, sometimes we go beyond, hotter topics that we want to address on our table. So the first thing today we are going to jump into, if I can scroll down here and share my screen, is a propaganda BS that is being completely run by the GOP and what they're doing to blame Democrats for this shutdown and the lies that go along with it. This is the HUD website. There are several agency websites that are saying this kind of nonsense right here. And we all know the Hatch Act, I mean, they're completely doing this against the Constitution, against the law, and everything else. But we all know that that hasn't stopped them before, right? What about our, Department of Justice? I don't know. Let's see what Department of Justice says.
More like Department of Injustice.
Yeah. So at the top, I know it's hard to see, it says Democrats have shut down the government. Department of Justice websites are not currently regularly updated. Refer to the contingency plan. And it gives you a link. But again, they're not supposed to be doing this on our government websites. That's 2. And it keeps going, but I'll show you one more. And then we're going to show you something else they're doing. And this one is, yes. The Small Business Administration. Let's take a look at that website. Let me see if I can bring this up here a little bit. Special announcement. Senate Democrats voted to block a clean federal funding bill. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Leading to a government shutdown that is preventing the U.S. and SBA from serving America's 36 million small businesses. Blah, 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 bullshit. Clean across the board.
This is such an easy home run for the Democrats to step the fuck up and do something. I don't care if they are not in the majorities. Do something.
Well, they are now. They're not giving in, right? We talked a little bit about that on Wednesday. They are not giving in. And so that's not all. They're taking, they're going into people's out of office messages, their emails, government employees, and saying the same damn rhetoric for people who send emails into our government. This shit, we have to figure out how this stops, because this is so out of control, so out of control. I mean, this is the breaking point, and that's our thing for today. This is the breaking point. So let's talk about just that for a little bit, and then we'll show this ridiculous garbage that was posted by our president of the United States. Again, more propaganda. So what are your thoughts?
This is so asinine and so juvenile. This is something I would expect a high school student to do, to sabotage their opponent running for class president. Who does what adults do this? I cannot believe this is our administration. Again, I feel like I'm living in the fucking Twilight Zone.
And I don't really mean to disparage folks, but do you really think that the MAGA people are signing on to government websites? Like anyone who's signing on to the websites, are they really going to believe this?
That's a good point.
Yeah,
But you do have
rural
to-
areas don't have access. So yes,
Yeah.
you have a point there.
Exactly.
But as we've seen, it's all over the news cycles. I mean, it's all over, right?
I
Fox
have
is having a field day.
I have seen though, what is it? Republicans on like the Today Show and ABC. The media is finally stepping up a little bit and calling them out. Like I saw Mike Johnson with George Stephanopoulos, I think, and I saw him with someone on the Today Show too. That they were just like, no, you're not telling the truth. Like this is not factual.
Mm.
So that's something.
Little too late.
Right?
Yeah. Kevin Kiley's going to be hosting a animal adoption tomorrow here in Placer County instead of working or
Wait, who
trying.
is Kevin? Who is
Kevin
Kiley?
Kiley is my congressional rep
Oh, okay.
for my district. So instead of trying to, have discussions with senators on the Democratic side or other Democrats, he's going to be up here in the Roseville area doing an animal adoption.
There should be a protest there.
I think there will be.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go by.
done. I'm done with all the. I'm like Don. I'm done with the politeness. I'm
Yeah.
gap the bridge or whatever. It's just like you lie, and I'm going to tell you that you're lying. I'm going to talk behind your head until somebody comes and gets me. But you're lying. It's just so frustrating.
We talked about this on Wednesday, how the one thing the Republicans do well is they are all on point on the same damn message, right? Dems are shutting down because they want to give Medicare or Medicaid to illegal immigrants. That's the talking point, which we all know is BS. I've been responding to Scott Jennings quite a bit today, and that man.
Oh God.
Yeah.
He is beyond human.
He's reprehensible.
Yeah, it's like now the one thing I did see an interview with Jake Tapper and I think it was Hakeem, if I remember correctly. And Jake Tapper likes to do the gotchas every now and then, and he's saying, well, yes, maybe they don't qualify for Medicaid, but anybody who goes into an emergency room, even if they're an illegal immigrant or undocumented, let's use the right terms, undocumented immigrant, they get medical care.
As does anyone.
As does anyone. That was passed in the Reagan administration. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Anyone.
that's called human decency.
Yeah.
To not let people die. And so it's that piece that's just
See,
maddening.
and this is why Jake Tapper is unalived to me. Because he knows better. He knows better. All you have to do is read the statute, because believe it, this is how incompetent these people are. They put up as proof that they were telling the truth about the undocumented immigrants. They put up that very part of the legislation that says, with the exception of these people and these people and these people, every single section of people that they mentioned were legal in some capacity in the United States. So they posted proof of their own lie.
And did y'all hear KKK Carolina Abbott talking about this, about the
I'm so
evil person.
sick.
She was saying how all of these cities are spending so much on illegal immigrants who are clogging up the emergency rooms. And I'm just like, do you hear yourself with your fucking cross on?
I'm
talking about
waiting for her to
people-
just light on fire.
Yeah.
Like, just spontaneously combust.
But do you
Yep.
see how bad she looks? She looks worse every time you see her.
It's them lip injections.
Mm.
Oh,
You're
really?
just eating her soul.
Yeah.
Your evilness will show on the outside.
I mean, look at Marco Rubio. He's got dead eyes. You know?
Okay. Well, let's take a look at a very dignified post from our president. Now, there's no sound because we can't play the music for copyright reasons, but the video says it all.
You can hear some.
I hear sound.
Yeah.
Can you?
Sound. Yes. Check the sound. The mic is open over there.
Their time has come. Here the power's gone.
On the video, there's a microphone just to the
So
right.
is the reaper. He wields a pen, the fun's and a brain.
There you go.
Oh Jesus! I didn't see the creepy babies.
What the F is this?
Oh Jesus! How did they think that this is like clever? This is so juvenile and childish.
And how did they get away with using that song without having musical
won't.
copyright infringement? How?
I bet you they don't know about it yet.
I'm
Because
sure
this-
they'll get hit
Yeah.
with the cease and desist, just like every other artist didn't want him
They
using
gotta
their
cease,
music for anything.
What was it? Homeland Security got a cease and desist with Pokemon.
Hmm.
Pokemon doesn't mess around.
Pokemon.
Yeah, do you forget
Yeah.
that video they made using the Pokemon
Yeah,
song?
they did it. They did an ice video of Gotta Catch 'Em All.
Yeah, gotta catch them all. They used the Pokemon song.
Oh my goodness.
It was
Disgusting.
oh
That was from the president of the United States.
Good Lord.
This is where we are.
He's a 12-year-old, for God's sake.
Yeah. Now, there was a little trolling on the other side.
Yes.
So let's, I think I can play the music okay with that one. Let's see.
Is he trolling the
Can you hear it?
No.
Democrats? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, because that's what President Trump does, and people are having fun with this. But at the end of the day, the decisions are tough ones. And I've met with him. I talked yesterday at length with Russ Vought.
Release the Epstein files. We gotta release the Epstein files. Release the Epstein files. We gotta release the Epstein files.
Is he trolling the Democrats? Yes.
I hadn't seen that one yet.
Send
Oh
this
my
shit
God.
out, but he can't take it.
my favorite Mike Johnson one is the one that turns him into a minion.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
That one's funny.
Which one?
There's a video of him like a minion. Hold on, let me
Oh
see
my
if I can find
gosh.
it.
Have you seen the one? I didn't want to show it. I thought it was in poor taste, but it's of JD Vance humping the couch with a sombrero on his butt.
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh my gosh.
Colbert did that one on his
Colbert did
show.
that
It
one.
was great.
Oh my god. Yeah,
my
I
God.
didn't want to go that far, but
I mean, few things can be in poorer taste than anything that the president tweets. So,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true. That's
and JD
very-
loves his couches. So I think it's fair.
So the question is, I mean, obviously they're again breaking laws left and right when it comes to the Hatch Act and just norms, human decency. I mean, really, death, the Grim Reaper. I mean, what was that all about?
Project
is that a threat?
2025. Project 2025.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we are. So, any last thoughts on the propaganda? How do we? The only way I can see we combat it is like what I was doing all morning and responding with the truth, and continue to respond with the truth, and not let these lies go. I want to see more of our Democrats out there responding with the truth, and more are. I actually had one clip of Bernie, and maybe I'll show that a little bit later, of Bernie and AOC. They're trying. They're trying.
Yeah.
What more should we demand of them?
Well, that's really the only weapon that we have right now.
Yeah.
The demand for them not to back down, which they haven't done. And just the message has to be on point. Just keep on hammering the truth, the truth, the truth, the truth.
But I think we can join in as well. We can
Mhm.
also make sure that we stop buying. Buying power, we have it. We just need to stop making them rich as billionaires. They can't be trillionaires if we don't allow them to be. So stop buying. You have enough. That pump, that dress, that outfit, not talking to you, Andre, but
All
stop
that
buying.
Botox, all that Botox and lip filler, and they got plenty. I don't know.
They're all starting to look the same. Like they're all just starting to morph, and you can hear when some of the ladies talk that they all have these lip fillers. Because their mouth can only open so far.
Okay.
I will look at.
Okay. We digressed. I have said that we probably shouldn't attack people's looks, which I agree with that, and I did, and I apologize. But it's
They looked better before they got the work done. So I don't know why they got the work done. That's my thing.
Yeah, I mean, it would be one thing if we were criticizing their natural looks. We're talking about their fakeness and the things that they've done to make themselves look worse. I think that's fair.
That's true. That's true, Keisha. Thank you. Yeah, because they did look better before.
Mhm.
People have a hard time, especially women, have a hard time aging. But okay, so any last thoughts on the propaganda? Who was that? Go ahead, Roseanne. Did you have something? No. Okay.
Oh, I was laughing at Jazzy's comment.
Jazzy? Okay. Jazz.
I'll never look at bratwurst the same again.
Okay. That's
Oh,
hilarious. Let me set up the share to get ready for Keisha's segment. And I'll turn it over to you, Keish.
Yes. So Ezra Klein and Ta-Nehisi Coates had a conversation this week on Ezra Klein's show. This is coming out of first Ezra Klein writing an opinion piece about Charlie Kirk, where he said some things that some of us found ridiculous, like Charlie Kirk uses he speaks politics the right way and he debates the right way. Ta-Nehisi Coates took issue with that and responded in The Atlantic, and then Ezra invited him on his show. And so there are a couple of clips that I want to show you all to get your opinions, because they're coming from two very different perspectives about the situation. And it's actually a really interesting conversation.
Okay. Ready? So I started it, I think, here at 4. So then just You may have to cue me to stop.
Like going through all of the clips of the things he said, the way he talked about people, the way he, described groups in ways that honestly, even as I was writing it, I was uncomfortable saying. And so the idea that this guy should be in any way celebrated for how he conducted politics. The fact that he just slurred across the board, all sorts of groups of people, and then ran an organization wherein, which appeared to me just a haven of hatred. I would not want that to be a model for my politics. And I know, as we talked between us that, you are not attempting to make a statement for the entirety of it. But I guess I feel like at a certain point, somebody's legacy, or somebody does something that is so large, that it's tough to think about their legacy and take that out of it. And that's how I felt about it.
So I think I want to get at the right level of disagreement here. So I think one thing for me is that, I don't know, for me, the immediate hours after somebody is murdered in public, when you see that sort of grief and horror pouring out of the people who loved him, and many people loved him, my instinct then is to just sit with them in their grief, right? To say, I can, for this moment, find some way to grieve with you, to see your friend the way, or in some version of the way you saw him, right? That's not my view of, the person's whole legacy, but going to people when they're grieving like that and saying, listen, I want to tell you really what I thought of your friend. Just feels like not what you do in a kind of a community. I can see people coming down on both sides of that.
I actually think that actually is a great impulse, that after somebody's been killed, and not just killed, but because we live in the media environment that we live in, that it's seen and that it will live forever, and that person's family, you know what I mean?
That it is being looped in front of all of us.
Jesus Christ.
Which I think has a lot to do with how this was taken.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. And to have to go, to have young kids who have to grow up knowing that is a thing that exists in the world. You know what I mean?
And I'll go one step further on this. One thing I wrote about in that piece that I do worry about is I worry we are already in a cycle of political violence, of mimetic violence. I think about Pelosi. I think about Shapiro. I think about the near assassination on Trump. I think about when after that happened, I thought about me. I thought about you. I thought about all kinds of people I know, right? So I do think there's just something about when violence takes hold that that there's something about it that it begins to breach all lines.
Yeah. So
anyway,
I guess
that was part of my reaction too.
I think all of that is understandable, but I guess, was silence not an option?
Yeah, silence to me was not grieving with people. I felt it was important as someone who is liberal, as someone who has a voice, that there are moments like that. Like, I really do feel, and it's funny because you said something like this in your piece, but it was a little bit more offhanded. The political violence like that is an attack on us all.
Right.
And that in that moment, it creates, for me, even if it's very temporary, that it's important in a moment like that to sort of, come together, to try to see other people in their grief, to try to cool things down just a little bit.
You can pause it.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
My favorite part of that is when Ta-Nehisi says, was silence not an option? He could have said nothing. He didn't have to applaud the guy and the way he carried himself.
That's what I was thinking. Silence. Just don't say anything then. I mean, why wasn't silence an option?
Yeah, after you put in your email what it was going to be about, I went searching for it. And so I watched it. And before those words came out of his mouth, the same thing was going through my head. Could you have just not said anything? Like, why did you have to insert yourself in that and say that he did politics the right way? I have a problem with using the word politics with what he did. It was just pure hate. He demeaned anyone who wasn't white, who wasn't straight, who wasn't Christian. That's not politics. That goes to your core the core level of your humanity. And I felt like he didn't have any. And yet when he died, we were supposed to lionize him and all of a sudden reach deep, deep down and find our humanity for someone who didn't see humanity in us. So, yeah, I had a problem with what he said.
Whenever I think of Charlie Kirk's, you know, how he died, which again was horrific and nobody should die like that. Something that comes to mind is he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. And I'm not like a super religious person, but that just always comes to my mind. And like we like Momo said too, we shouldn't praise this person in any way. And silence is definitely a response, because if you're going to you know, comment in a rude way about his death and stuff, in ways that, like, you know, MAGA comments about stuff, you're just playing their game and you're just going to anger them more.
And silence speaks volumes, I think.
To Jazzy's point about Ezra being too much of a martyr, I think he really plays into this we have to talk about both sides kind of game that the media likes to play. And again, that is not necessary. Why do you feel the need to share in the grieving of Charlie Kirk? Like, what does that accomplish? Maybe he's trying to show that he can be empathetic to someone whose views he disagrees with. But again, you don't have to say anything.
I agree. Anybody else have comment? Or I'm sorry, Keisha, this is your segment.
No, it's okay. We can show the next clip, please.
Okay. Play.
Contribution that I am supposed to make. The fact of the matter is, you know, as horrifying as, you know, that the killing of Charlie Kirk was, and as horrifying as the feeling is, this moment that we are in, you know, an era of political violence, and I don't want to sound flip here, political violence is the norm for the Black experience in this country. It just is. I don't even mean like the Malcolm X, Martin Luther King variety of it, right? Which is the norm too. You would be hard pressed to have a conversation with a Black person in this country that is a descendant of slavery and not have them be able to reach maybe right here or to tell you themselves, look, my uncle, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, they lived in a small town in Mississippi, in Tennessee, in Alabama. They got into some sort of dispute with a white man, and either they were lynched or we had to run. Political violence runs through us. It is our heritage. Is that good? No. Do we valorize it? Absolutely not. Do we minimize it? Absolutely not. But a life free of it is not a thing that's really in reach in my time.
Sometimes I think that having a historical scope that wide can make the present too deterministic. So to me, I look at the last, 8, 12 years. Mm-hmm. And what I see having happened is we, the coalition I am in, the things I believe in, lost ground. And people determinedly worked to make that so. Charlie Kirk worked to make that so successfully, right? I think that when he began going to college campuses and putting out a sign at a table, what he was eventually going to build was not obvious, right? I think he worked. I think he was a successful political actor. And I think that from when in 2016, we lost to Donald Trump the first time, very narrowly, won the popular vote, right? And then in 2020, we almost lost to him and began seeing we were losing a bunch of voters we thought we were fighting for, right? Losing more working class voters, losing non-white voters, right? Something was changing, but we won, so okay. And then in 2024, we really got our asses handed to us. And we let a much more dangerous form of politics fully erupt. And I think that reflects strategic decisions they made. I think it reflects decisions we made. So I think for me, it's not enough to say we lost, their backlashes, sometimes you lose. I think it requires like a very fundamental rethinking, like a disciplined, strategic rethinking of what have we been doing? Why are people preferring this to us? And I do think that is like, it opens up into something more that I think that there is a practice of politics here that in a narrow sense I was talking about Kirk, but in a broad sense reflects to something that I thought was going to be an argument stretching across the show for like a year, right? I think more of it came out in this than I'd intended probably. But I think in many ways we've stopped doing politics. We've written a lot of people off. And in writing them off, we are losing and we are unable to protect ourselves, unable to protect them, just unable to make good change in the world.
Can you say more about that writing them off, please?
Yeah. Why don't we start it here if we want to talk about writing them off? I've been obsessing recently for a piece I've been writing about the Hillary Clinton deplorables comment, and I want to play it.
You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. He has given voice to their websites that used to only have 11,000 people, now have 11 million. He tweets and retweets. They're offensive, hateful, mean-spirited rhetoric. Now, some of those folks, they are irredeemable, but thankfully they are not American.
What do you think when you hear that?
She probably shouldn't have said it.
Do you think it's true?
I mean, it's probably not how I would say it, but...
Is that good? Okay.
That's...
For me, that's where the rubber meets the road. That is such a bunch of crock, because at that point, Trump was bringing out his rhetoric very hard, very poignant. And when she said that, they wanted to hold her accountable. That is a crock for me. And I don't know who the hell is this new Ezra Klein. Did he go to the mountaintop and fall off? I don't know this person.
I agree. But two things, too, that he's absolutely wrong on, and Jazzy brought up one of them. We did not narrowly lose in 2020. And I think, and I usually have this number because I talk about it a lot, was what maybe a 1.8% difference in the 2024 election, which people keep saying it was this huge landslide, and it was not.
And a mandate.
And all that other BS to go with it. So I agree with you, August. What happened to Ezra Klein?
Yeah, I was screaming at my television while I was watching this conversation. And yeah, I never watched him much before this. I'd heard his name bandied about, but I never really knew what he was all about. But watching the conversation that he was having, I know one thing: I would never tune in again, because I just felt like he was full of crap. It just like with the deplorables statement, right? Everyone is always holding people that are opposite Trump to a higher standard. He can say and do anything he wants, but they focus on the one wrong thing or one slip of the tongue that someone may make, and it's all over for them. But why have we lowered our standards so for this man? I don't understand it.
I thought it was interesting that Ta-Nehisi said that for Black people who are descendants of
enslaved people, political violence is what we know. And
So,
Ezra just kind of like discounted that and said, I think that's too deterministic. I think we should focus on the last 8 to 12 years. How do you just discount everything he said? Like that's a whole it goes back to the argument of, does the history of this country factor into our present, or are we just going to ignore that and pretend like all we need to focus on is the present?
it's
Like
it's
it all matters.
it's more comfortable to ignore it, Keisha, because if we really stop and examine the state of this nation from its inception to now, we've never fulfilled our promise. Never. We haven't done it. And I agreed with him wholeheartedly. And I thought he was very dismissive of the fact that he was saying for descendants of slaves, for Black people in America, this is just the norm for us. Political violence, violence against us is the norm. Just like in Reconstruction, we came the closest to it, like he said, in Reconstruction, when we had these enslaved people in the legislature. And every time Black folk rise up to do something, it gets burned to the ground, or it gets minimized or diminished in some sort of way. And it's never going to change. It's never going to get better until we really stop and look back and examine our history as a nation. We can't fix it if we've never admitted that it was broken.
I was going to say, that's the problem. They don't want to look back. Look at what they're doing with, I think it was the African American History Museum, and they're trying to like blur some of the photos of like the scars and stuff that slaves had from like being whipped and stuff. And it's like, we have to stop trying to whitewash history. And I would rather learn the hard stuff and learn what is true than have like these rose-colored goggles on all the time. I want to know the gritty and dirty stuff. I don't want to just know all the happy la things.
I just want to jump in here. You're right, Katie. And I'm going to give an example real quickly. Yesterday, we all that attended Don Lemon's show, we heard from Will from South Carolina. And when he explained what he went through and what those people losing the red states, if they lose their health care, if they lose their hospitals, how many hours it would take, it changed a lot of people's mind. A lot of the Lemon legends, they admitted, but we are always the ones standing up and able to take account. And there is no accountability that comes. It was so refreshing to hear from Will providing accountability, but also telling his story of almost losing that left arm with his grandfather, and the grandfather even having a heart attack. It shows you that there is only 6 degrees of separation. We bleed just like each other. You can continue, Katie. I'm sorry.
You're good. I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. The other thing about history is obviously we don't do a good job of learning from history at all, not just the US, but world history, because look at where we are. Look at where we are. Did we not learn anything from World War II? Nothing. History is such an important part of education, and people just aren't paying attention, and we're repeating it, absolutely repeating it. So
there's another comment in the conversation where Ezra says that he has people who he respects that are reaching out to him and saying that they feel like we're in a cold civil war and that we should, as a nation, divorce. Which I was like, hey, that's I'm one of those people. Not that I reached out to him personally, but I do feel like we're in a cold civil war, and I do think we should divorce as a nation. But he kind of dismissed it as like it was a silly thing and not worthy of like taking seriously. To which I was like, you know what, man? I'm just I'm about through with you.
That's okay. Irreconcilable differences. Let's go. Let's, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's an interesting conversation there.
Yeah, it's worth watching. It's a little over an hour long. I appreciate and respect how they were civil, since everyone wants to be respectable and talk civilly and have civil discourse. They didn't agree on everything. I think they didn't agree on a lot of things, but it was a good conversation and good food for thought.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any more comments for Keisha, or questions or anything there? Oh, shoot. I closed down something that I was showing. Okay. Well, let's switch gears then. I want to do a little bit of an introduction to this next part. I'm not sure how many people are aware of what also happened this week. So on October 1st, the Trump administration sent a so-called compact for academia, or academic excellence, my apologies, to 9 major universities. On the surface, it looks like this great deal to improve education, freeze tuition, require standardized tests, crack down on grade inflation. But buried in the fine print, we see sweeping demands, of course. Bans on diversity programs, caps on international students, and even the power to dismantle entire academic departments considered ideologically biased. Now, thank goodness, our governor, let's see if I have Newsom here. Our governor said if any California university signs this radical agreement, they'll use billions in state funding, including Cal grants, instantly. California will not bankroll schools that sell out their students, their professors, researchers, surrender academic freedom. This is a big deal. The universities, let's play a little clip first about one university, University of Texas, Austin, who is actually considering this.
That's my alma mater. No, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What was that?
That's my alma mater.
I'm sorry.
Really hoping they weren't one of these fucking idiot universities.
I'm so sorry. Well, let's see. Let's see what it says. I didn't get to go through the whole thing. I hate not being in my studio. I apologize. Let me start it back here at the beginning.
Tuition and admissions in order to get federal funding. It's part of a compact the Trump administration has asked 9 universities to sign. KVU's Isabella Basco explores what that could mean for academic freedom in Texas.
With the Trump administration asking 9 universities to sign a compact in exchange for federal money, it's what one UT Austin professor calls a new strategy to influence what happens in higher education.
I'd say it's relatively unprecedented to see something like this come down. And I think, it definitely has people in higher education circles all across the country talking about what it means.
KVUE News got a hold of the compact. The document asks universities to stick strict gender roles and asks that no more than 15% of a university's undergrad population participates in the student visa exchange program. It also bans factors like race, nationality, and political views from being considered in admissions. UT Austin education professor David DeMatthew expects faculty across the country to have concerns.
Just seeing the federal government, take aim at a variety of topics and issues that are typically controlled at a local level in universities.
KVUE News reached out to UT to ask if the university will sign the agreement. We received a statement from the UT system, which says in part, "We welcome the new opportunity presented to us, and we look forward to working with the Trump administration on it." But we talked to students who feel differently.
I really hope to see UT stand up for itself and hope to not implement those standards.
I think in these times we have to support each other where and when we can. And it would be nice if the university could set that example. But, I just don't think if they decide to do this, I don't think they would be doing that.
For DeMatthews, he believes the best action universities can take is to generate more discussion and dialogue.
So I think it's a great opportunity for universities across the country, for university leaders and politicians to openly discuss what this is, what it means, and why they should or should not move forward with it.
And the Board of Regents chairman also says they are honored their flagship was selected by the Trump administration for more possible federal funding. And they, quote, "look forward to engaging with university officials and reviewing the compact immediately." Now, the other 8 schools included in President Trump's request are a mix of public and private. There's Vanderbilt, USC, Dartmouth, Penn, Brown, MIT, Virginia, and Arizona. Now, the Texas Faculty Association sent a statement calling the compact another attack by President Trump on academic freedom.
Oh, yes. Project 2025 doing its job.
This is absolutely an attack on academic freedom. I don't understand why people in education think that adding more standardized tests to things, especially in colleges and just school in general, is going to make people smarter. It's making people dumber. It's making people have less creativity. And this is some 1984 bullshit. That's what this is. It's, they're talking about banning race and gender and nationality. The universities of this country are one of the foundations of what makes this country great, including the international students. And so many universities are so different. And we can't have this you must comply to all these standards bullshit. It's yes, there's certain standards, but then there's these things that you're trying to do where you just want to turn people into mindless robots. And we can't have that at our universities.
Absolutely not. And you talked about, I think you were talking about standardized testing. Some people think, oh yeah, well, cap on international students. That's more for us, when it's absolutely not. Because right now there's no federal cap, because international enrollment is a major funding source because they pay full tuition, right? So that's a huge impact on the universities. The other thing, well, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sure too that, a lot of these schools, if they don't do the federal thing, alumni is going to donate. People are going to donate and make up the difference.
I already donate. UT Austin has such a big endowment already. I don't even understand why they're considering this. Why? There are a lot of alumni who are very wealthy and donate handsomely, and they call me all the freaking time asking me for money. I guess I will be sending them a letter telling them why I'm not sending them any money if they go forth with this, and I won't be the only one. This is ridiculous.
That's a great point, to reach out to our alumni organizations for these schools. If you are an alumnus, then reach out, right, to your schools and tell them no. It's another one of those things like the bill, right? This big, beautiful bullshit bill that says, oh, this is really good because we want to freeze tuition for 5 years. And people go, oh, yeah, that sounds really good. But today, universities set tuition annually, often with increases to match inflation, salaries, facility costs, etc. So while it sounds good for students short term, it could starve universities. Now, some of these bigger universities, like you said, Keisha, have these huge endowments, right? And have a lot of support. So, that could go both ways. I think the bigger issue is the crackdown on DEI, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the bigger ones, and that's the one we know that they're targeting. standardized testing we talked about.
Well, with
Restructure ideologically based departments. That's the scary one. Whose ideology? Well, theirs, of course.
Stephen Miller's.
Christian nationalists. That's the ideology.
Did you notice who wasn't on that list? The likes of Yale, Harvard, Stanford, Brown. I
think Brown was on the list, but
Brown was on the list.
Columbia
Oh, they were,
wasn't.
Sorry, Columbia. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I had, so it was UT Austin, MIT, USC, UVA, Vanderbilt, Brown, Dartmouth, Arizona, Penn. But we all know these are just testing grounds,
right.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
For everybody else. So this is something we have to keep our eye on because this is the future of our country right here. This is some scary stuff, Any more comments on this?
Do we know more about the gender role, the gender cap thing? You said something about no gender balancing or something like that.
It probably sounded. I think it must be something. When I heard the gender thing, I thought it meant more like the non-binary and that stuff. And the,
Yeah,
like,
you're supposed to stick to the two genders, and that's it.
Oh my God, Sarah, what the fuck?
Oh, so it's, so to ban race, sex considerations at admissions might be part of that. So the Supreme Court already cracked down. There would be an explicit federal level ban, no consideration for race, sex of any admissions or hiring. That one's a little bit different. That's part of the DEI. Yeah, I didn't find any detail on that part of it, but it's basically that's part of the ideology aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
So basically, you're going to do this our way, or you won't get any funding. Again, I found a good kind of a thing here for that. So Trump asked 9 colleges to commit his political agenda and get favorable access to federal money. Using one's political position to bribe or extort, breaching public trust. If you take down the banner on that. What is corruption? I'll take corruption for 1,000. Yeah. So a little Jeopardy question there. I mean,
it's disgusting. I'm sorry. It's disgusting that we've gotten to the point with this administration where we don't even have to ask anymore. Is this legal? It's not.
No,
it's not.
Keisha, to answer your question, I just looked it up. One of the terms of the compact requires commitment on issues such as gender identity definitions. So in other words, they only want the male-female gender identification. Nothing else should be recognized.
Why are they so threatened by people who are transgender? What does it matter? I understand they try to make transgender people the boogeyman because that helps them politically, but it also just seems like they're so threatened by the idea that there can be more than 2 sexes. Who cares?
I don't even think it's so much that they're threatened. I think it's just they want to put their foot on the neck of anybody that's not like them. It's just cruelty. That's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And
let people live.
What's that?
I said, just let people live. I know that sounds so basic, but
I know. I say that every day. Can't
No.
you just
It sounds basic, but it's everything. Just
live
let
your life?
Live.
Like
Just
what
let 'em
does like who people love, how does that have anything to do with you or hurt you in any way? Let people be happy.
It doesn't.
Control, Katie. That's what they want. Control. Complete and utter control.
It's such bullshit.
I know. Okay. Well, we need to keep an eye on that one just to see. So I think I have a couple memes to show in the end, but before we do that, we have a special segment called August Corner. So I'm going to turn it over to our very own Miss August. What do you have for us today?
Listen up, everybody. In the August Corner, did you know on Thursday, the Serenity of the Sea Royal Caribbean ship came in with passengers ill from the norovirus? If you're not aware of the norovirus, that is the lack of washing of hands. That means people picking their nose, they're going to the restroom and not washing their hands. So Royal Caribbean had to make sure to wash down everything. Passengers said they were treated very well, and they did see them do a lot of cleaning. 5% of the crew was sick, and 5% of the passengers were ill. That's roughly around 90 people. But they all came back in, and the person that they kind of got it down to the source was stuck to their room. They could not come out. So they were sequestered. Better yet. All right. Did you know that the White House is missing $17 trillion? There's a $17 trillion theft going on in the White House. And guess what? The Ways and Means Committee is looking into it because Donald Trump said that, hey, his administration is claiming that they earned $17 trillion. So everybody wants to know, where is it? In Casey, Texas, there was a hazmat situation. It was due to, per the Casey Fire Department, that a chemical reaction, that means poison chemicals were in the air, and they had to really shut down. It was caused from a crystal clean facility. More to that. But here is the kicker in August Corner. You remember that shaman? The guy that had on the rabbit and the beaver hat? One side of his face was blue, the other side of his face was red. Well, he is claiming that he is going to sue Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and T-Mobile for $40 trillion. And guess what's why? Because he said he is the true president. I tell you, you give them a pardon and they fly back up in your face. If you want more on that, please check out the Tennessee Brando story on YouTube. Also, in world news, we do have Manchester, UK, 2 dead in a stabbing attack in a synagogue. So now people are losing their mind in the UK in regards to the stabbing. But there's further to that story from what we're understanding. It could have been the police that also had an insight into it. So please check out these stories. In New York City, they are holding us captive here in New York for $18 billion from the Trump administration. They're freezing our NYC transit. So that is in New York. In LA, El Segundo, the refinery fire took place. We want to hear more about that, and I will definitely come back to you where we stand on the refinery. To round this out, and in some more happier news, the Church of England has appointed their first female Archbishop of Canterbury. Chip, chip, we hear you. That is powerful. So that is some good news. And I'm going to close out. No, I have one more I forgot. Yeah, we did talk about ICE, right? ICE is being sent to the Super Bowl. You might want to rethink your Super Bowl tickets. I don't know. If you're not sure of your status, watch it from home. Now, to more good news. Whenever you look at the GPS, that traffic light you come to, when you eat a spoon of peanut butter or put it on that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or even a blood transfusion for your family or loved ones, please remember that some of these inventors that were erased or silenced They were brilliant Black minds. Back over to you, Kim.
Yay, thank you. Lots of interesting tidbits over there in the corner. But yeah, that 17 trillion, where the hell is that money?
I want to know, because that could definitely fund the
That's what we want to
entire.
know.
Yeah,
That would take care of everything.
I want my tariff check. Where's
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Bring it on.
That's so. Before we close, I got a couple of tidbits and then a couple of memes. But I think you alluded to this, right? We've got states that are losing money. They're playing their games. So Russ Boyd just canceled $8 billion in climate funding to the following states, and they're there. 16 blue states that didn't vote for him. I just want to remind everyone that Biden never sought political retribution for states that didn't vote for him. In fact, they overwhelmingly benefited from his policies. Something to remember there. This is true now. I'm in academia, so I had to tell my college students that government websites can no longer be considered an academic source. Yes. That's really sad. What else do we have here? Oh, yes. What Trump imagined, what Trump got. Sorry. So sorry.
That's from his speech, right? In Quantico?
Yes.
Tuesday.
Yeah. Same like the parade, you know? He wanted the boom. He got the creak, creak, creak.
This is squeaky.
Drunken TED Talk. I just keep hoping that the military step and do their actual duty to the country and not to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had more time. Yeah, I was going to show one where the generals are refusing. By the way, they're refusing to go into these cities. So more
Good.
on that next week. But here's the last one before we go. Oh my God, I love that one.
Hey, did you guys see the video of Pete Hegseth doing his little bunny rabbit push-ups or whatever it was? And then there was a mom with her baby strapped to her chest that did a clean push-up or a pull-up.
Pull up.
I just thought, this man is such a joke. He's such a joke.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us in the chat. We always love your comments, and we appreciate you so much. Please tell your friends about us. Hit that like, subscribe button, and join us here next week. And anything else from anybody before we head out?
Just keep your chins up.
Yep.
Keep your chins up. Keep your head up, guys. It's all gonna.
All right.
Love you. It's all gonna be good.
We'll see you next week.
We the people unite.